everyone. I'm Silvanna with EXP Realty, and I'm here with John from Seven Locks. We're going to get to know Seven Locks, our local brewery.
Excellent.
Hi, John.
Hi, Silvanna. Thank you so much for coming out.
No, thank you for doing this. This is a really cool business, and it's local. It's like down our steps. We can walk here if we wanted to. How did you get started in this business?
So the two owners, Jim and Keith of Seven Locks Brewing Company, went to school together at University of Maryland, and then went their separate ways after college, but came back, both moved here and started working in their various fields. But they remained friends, and they talked about this new brewing industry, this craft beer industry that was starting to sort of blossom. And so they thought, wouldn't it be great? They talked about it as friends will do with a crazy idea like opening your own brewery. We talked about it for a long time. But in the fall, in November of 2015, we opened up the Seven Locks Brewing Company, and it's been a bumpy ride occasionally, but overall a really great move. They're very pleased with how things are running, and so are the rest of us who are involved.
We're pleased to have a brewing company in our neighborhood.
Right.
And the coolness, I guess the extra cool factor is you guys are super creative with your flavors and your names. How do you come up with this?
So if you think of it like chefs working in a kitchen, basically, it's kind of hit or miss. And definitely some of our batches get right down the drain because it's something just didn't quite work out. But it's just trying to find that right combination of ingredients that work well together. Our flagship, which I am now been directed to call Surrender Rye IPA, our Rye PA. It's a pale ale using rye in the malt base that really mellows out the hops because it's a very hoppy pale ale, but it's delicious. There's a good reason it's our flagship. We could sell a lot of it, but basically coming in with the rye for that pale ale was a new introduction that not a lot of people had tried, and so that's part of the success of the beer. The naming of it came from, and actually I should mention, all of our beers are named after local regional landmarks.
So
for Surrender, which started out Surrender Dorothy, which we're not supposed to call it anymore.
Really?
More about that later. Started because of the graffiti on the train bridge as you're heading west on the Beltway in DC, and you see the Mormon temple in the background. Somebody at some point had spray painted Surrender Dorothy as if it was Oz. So we took that and ran with it. The original artwork on the can had actual characters from The Wizard of Oz, a yellow brick road, the temple in the background, and the word Surrender Dorothy, the name. The folks who own the rights to that movie took exception, of course, to our tiny brewery.
No way!
And said, no, you can't do that. So the first wave was we just had to take the characters off the artwork. And now, as of this past Tuesday, we are no longer on social media supposed to use that young lady's name who stars in that movie and also the yellow brick road. So
I cannot believe that.
yeah, I know. It's like we're not, I'm sure we're not stealing their business too much, but it's basically we are selling something using somebody else's trademarked or copyrighted logo. So there we are. We're moving on to Surrender Rye PA, and it's still going to be the same great beer. So make sure people still buy that, of course.
I'm taking some of it home.
Yeah, but that's one of them. On a personal note, back in the fall, after I'd started in a few months, I started back in July of last year here. They were working on a New England IPA in the brew house, and they kept calling it Jazz. They just nicknamed it Jazz. And so I was like, started to do a little research. I've been a blues and jazz fan, and I thought about local DC legendary jazz club, and I came up with, what about Blues Alley? And I presented that with some background information, and everybody looked at it. It's a team effort, everything here. And so they took a look at it, and it was passed around, and everybody was like, yeah, that's a great name. So I got to name my first beer back in the fall. It was very cool, but it's Blues Alley, which I think may have closed, unfortunately. But if it does open back up, make sure you go see music there, because it's a great space.
Thanks for the
that's part of the naming process. But basically, like everything else, Devil's Alley is a campground nearby. But if you go through I can go through the whole list of beers and tell you what the names are about. It's mostly outdoorsy stuff: hiking, biking, kayaking, camping. That's the basis for most of it. See behind us, Silvanna. the Seven Locks, people are always like, oh, so you must be on Seven Locks Road, which there is, but no, we're not.
Very close, too.
We're in Potomac, but not too far from here. And a lot of the stuff is based around the C&O Canal, the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal. So we named the brewery for the 7 locks that you can see all in a row. It's number 8 through 14. And
Okay.
so these are each of the 7 locks. And from one vantage point, you'll be able to see them all at the same time, which is kind of cool.
How did you guys choose this location? What were the factors in saying, hey, let's put our brewing company here?
Montgomery County had sort of a void with regard to breweries at the time, 5 years ago.
Oh.
It's hard to imagine now, of course.
Yeah, 'cause now they're
There's some
everywhere.
really great breweries everywhere. But the location here, so they were looking for a place that was affordable, which is not an easy thing in Montgomery County.
Right.
But they wanted to also find something that had good access. I mean, like you mentioned, you could walk here pretty easily. There's a lot of apartment buildings nearby, and that's where we get a lot of our customer base. And so that's really ended up coming in here. Everything else was just either too out of the way or just not affordable.
Okay. Tell us something about you or the business that most people don't know.
Oh, let's see. I have been, well, some people know, but not everybody. So I'm John Watkins. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm the manager of the packaging here. So I do the canning and the bottling. I'm the manager of the barrel age program here, where we take beers and throw them into whiskey or wine barrels, age them, add purees, and then find out what it's like in the end. And then I'm also in charge of the, I'm an assistant brewer learning in the brew house. So instead of having to go to college to learn this, I'm learning it on the job right here.
Training.
So, and the reason I got into the brew house so quickly, because it's usually a longer process of training, is that I've been brewing on my own for almost 23 years now. My wife bought me a kit for my 30th birthday, because she knew how much I loved beer.
Now we know how old John is.
Oh, oops. I just gave you all the math, didn't I? Yes. But so I've been doing my own brewing at home, and so I'm really familiar with the process, really familiar with bringing in recipes, which is what they want me to do. So it's kind of I started out as a beer tender here in July, but then the production team left, so I quickly filled in for them. And so I'm able to put that knowledge base to good use, basically. So it's something where it's like they don't have to explain a lot of the process to me, because I understand the process. It's just, as opposed to, I work 5 gallons at a time at home, and we're doing, way more than that here. But for like Surrender, the one they're making today, is going to be 2 of those, so it'll be 30 barrels.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so.
That's a lot of beer.
It's a lot of beer, yeah.
Well, this was really cool to learn more about what you guys are doing here, your business, how it started, how you even got started. So thank you so much for doing this, John.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for watching.